Welcome to Audiobook Sounds, Chasing Greatness. This channel is dedicated to those who are committed to growth, discipline, self-mastery, and becoming the strongest version of themselves. Every audiobook we share is designed to challenge your thinking, elevate your mindset, and guide you toward the life you are meant to build. Today's lesson is titled, The Voice of a Leader, How to Talk Like a Leader. In this powerful session, you will discover how great leaders communicate, how they earn respect when they speak, and how you can transform your own voice into a tool of influence, clarity, and confidence. If you're ready to strengthen your communication, upgrade your presence, and speak with purpose, then you're in the right place. Thank you for being here. Settle in, focus your mind, and let's begin the journey. Chapter 1. The Power of a Leader's Voice. Your voice is one of the most powerful tools you own, yet most people use it without intention. A leader understands that their voice is more than sound. It is the extension of their identity, their mindset, and their inner strength. Before you ever deliver a message, your voice communicates who you are. People hear your confidence, your certainty, your clarity, your insecurity, your doubt, or your purpose long before they analyze your words. Your voice is the first impression that never stops speaking. Throughout history, leaders have moved nations not only with ideas, but with the power of their voice. Their tone carried conviction. Their words carried vision. Their presence carried certainty. They spoke in ways that made people believe in something greater than themselves. They understood that leadership is not only what you say, but how you make others feel when you say it. This is where the power of a leader's voice begins. Leadership starts the moment you open your mouth. Your voice reveals your discipline. It reveals your self-respect. It reveals the standards you hold for yourself. When you speak with intention, people recognize maturity and strength. When you speak without direction, people sense uncertainty. A leader chooses their words the way a sculptor chooses their tools. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is careless. Each word is placed with purpose. A leader's voice is steady. It is not controlled by impulse or emotion. It does not chase validation, nor does it demand attention. It naturally earns respect because it carries a sense of inner authority. This authority is not arrogance. It is not superiority. It is simply a deep understanding of one's own value and message. When you understand your worth, your voice reflects it. When you speak from a place of grounded clarity, others trust your leadership. To talk like a leader, you must recognize that your voice influences emotions. It shapes how people perceive you and how they respond to you. People follow voices that make them feel safe, inspired, or motivated. They distance themselves from voices that sound uncertain, scattered, aggressive, or reactive. Your voice can calm a room or create confusion. It can build trust or destroy it. It can guide a team forward or push them into hesitation. Every sentence you speak has the potential to influence the direction of a moment, a decision, or even a future outcome. When a leader speaks, they do not chase approval. They speak from alignment, from clarity, and from purpose. They do not speak to impress. They speak to impact. They understand that leadership communication is intentional. Every message has a direction. Every statement has a purpose. Leaders do not speak out of reaction. They speak out of vision. They are aware of what they want their voice to achieve before a single word leaves their mouth. A leader also recognizes that their voice is their responsibility. They use it to guide, to uplift, to clarify, and to empower. They understand the weight their words carry, so they choose them carefully. When they speak as someone worth listening to. They speak as someone who has taken time to think, to reflect, to listen, to observe, and to grow. Their voice is backed by substance, not noise. Your voice can become your greatest asset if you learn to shape it with intention. It can open doors, strengthen relationships, inspire loyalty, and communicate strength. It can help you navigate challenges, lead teams, and influence results. To develop the voice of a leader, you must commit to speaking with purpose and integrity. You must decide that your words will reflect who you are becoming, not who you used to be. Leadership begins with how you choose to use your voice. Master your voice, and you begin mastering your influence. Strengthen your presence, and you strengthen your leadership. Speak with clarity, and people will listen. Speak with purpose, and people will follow. Speak with conviction, and your voice will leave an imprint long after the conversation ends. Chapter 2. Speak with clarity, not confusion. Clarity is one of the most powerful qualities in leadership communication. When you speak clearly, people feel guided. They feel grounded. They feel safe. Confusion creates hesitation, but clarity creates momentum. A leader's voice becomes effective not because of complicated vocabulary or lengthy explanations, but because their message is simple, direct, and easy to understand. Most people speak to sound intelligent. Leaders speak to create understanding. They remove the unnecessary. They don't hide behind confusing language or overextended sentences. They get to the point, and they do it with precision. When you communicate with clarity, you respect the time, attention, and energy of the person listening to you. You show that you value their focus. You show that you value their mind. You show that your message is purposeful. Clarity begins in your thinking. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be scattered. If your mind is disorganized, your message will be disorganized. Leaders take a moment to understand what they truly want to say before they say it. They build the habit of thinking with structure, and that structure naturally flows into their speaking. A clear voice comes from a clear mind. A leader also understands that clarity builds respect. People respect those who communicate without confusion. They feel confident in your direction because you are confident in your message. When your words are simple and solid, people begin to rely on you. They see you as dependable. They see you as someone who knows what they are doing. Trust grows when people know exactly what you mean and where you are going. Clarity also reduces conflict. Many disagreements and misunderstandings are not caused by intention but by unclear communication. When you choose your words carefully, when you express yourself simply, when you remove ambiguity, you eliminate unnecessary tension. Leaders prevent problems before they begin by being direct and transparent. To speak with clarity, you must let go of the desire to impress and embrace the desire to communicate. You don't need to sound superior. You don't need to use complicated language. You don't need to overwhelm people with details that distract from your message. True clarity is confident enough to be simple. Another aspect of clarity is the ability to say no without guilt, to give direction without hesitation, and to communicate boundaries without aggression. Leaders do not hide behind vague statements. They do not send mixed signals. They do not leave others guessing. They are firm, respectful, and unmistakably clear. Clarity also shows emotional maturity. It demonstrates self-awareness. It reveals that you understand what matters and are not afraid to express it. When you speak with clarity, you become someone people can depend on for guidance. People begin to seek your opinion, your direction, and your perspective because you communicate with strength and certainty. To talk like a leader, train yourself to simplify your message. Ask yourself what you are truly trying to say. Remove the unnecessary. Deliver the essential. When your speech becomes clean, structured, and intentional, your influence rises naturally. Clarity is not just a communication skill, it is a leadership strategy. It increases trust, reduces confusion, strengthens relationships, inspires confidence, and guides people with precision. When you speak clearly, you become a leader others willingly follow. Chapter 3. The Power of Presence. Speaking with Command and Confidence. Every leader has one thing in common: an undeniable presence. Before they speak a single word, before they share an idea, before their message even begins, people feel them. Presence is what makes a room fall silent when someone walks in. Presence is what makes listeners lean forward, not because they have to, but because they want to. And presence is something every leader can develop, not through force, but through awareness, intention, and self-control. Speaking like a leader begins long before your voice is heard. It begins in the way you enter a room, the way you hold your posture, the way you look at people, and the energy you carry. Humans are emotional creatures. We read each other instantly. Confidence, insecurity, clarity, confusion, fear, authority, all of these are communicated without a single word. That is why cultivating presence is the foundation of leadership communication. Presence is built from 3 major pillars. The first pillar is stillness. Leaders who command attention do not rush, fidget, or scatter their energy. They move with intention. They are calm even when others react emotionally. Their stillness sends a signal that they are grounded, safe, and in control of themselves, and therefore capable of leading others. When you speak, silence is not your enemy, it is your ally. Great leaders use silence to create gravity around their message, to show that their thoughts are deliberate, and to give people space to absorb every word. The second pillar is authenticity. Too many people try to act confident by imitating others, copying their tone, their expressions, their intensity. But leadership presence comes from the opposite, knowing who you are and standing firmly in that identity. People can feel when you are pretending, and they can feel when you are real. Authentic presence means speaking from your values, not from your insecurities. It means allowing your voice to reflect your true convictions, not what you think will impress others. When you speak authentically, your voice gains weight because it comes from truth, not performance. The third pillar is emotional control. A leader's presence is strongest when they do not allow the energy around them to dictate their own. Whether dealing with conflict, criticism, pressure, or chaos, leaders maintain emotional stability. Their tone remains steady. Their words remain thoughtful. Their emotions remain managed. This makes people trust them because consistency creates safety. Anyone can speak confidently when life is easy. The real test of presence is how you speak when everything is falling apart. Leaders who master emotional control can guide others through storms simply by the steadiness of their voice. Presence is not about being loud. It is not about dominating conversations. It is about creating an atmosphere where your words naturally carry influence. When you enter a room, take a moment to breathe. Lift your posture. Become aware of your energy. When you speak, slow down. Let your message breathe. Allow your voice to reflect certainty. People don't follow the loudest person. They follow the one who speaks with clarity, conviction, and calm strength. A leader's voice must come from a deep place internally. If your inner world is chaotic, your speech will be chaotic. If your mind is scattered, your message will be scattered. But when your mind is clear, your voice becomes a tool of focus, direction, and purpose. Leadership presence begins with mastering your internal dialogue. When you speak to yourself with confidence, discipline, and clarity, that energy will naturally flow into the way you speak to others. Presence is the difference between speaking and leading. Anyone can speak, but not everyone can hold attention. Anyone can talk, but only leaders speak in a way that people remember, respect, and trust. When your presence is grounded, your voice becomes magnetic. People listen not because they must, but because something about you feels solid, intentional, and worth following. Developing presence is a lifelong practice, but every improvement will elevate your leadership. When your presence grows, your message grows. When your presence strengthens, your influence strengthens. And when your presence speaks, People don't just hear your words, they feel your leadership. Chapter 4. Speaking with Clarity. How leaders say more with less. A true leader does not hide behind complicated language, long explanations, or confusing ideas. A true leader understands that clarity is power, that when your message is simple, your voice becomes unforgettable. People do not follow what they cannot understand. They follow what is clear, direct, and easy to absorb. Speaking like a leader means stripping away the unnecessary so your message can reach the mind and the heart without resistance. Clarity begins with one simple truth. If you cannot explain it simply, you do not understand it deeply. Many people speak in circles because they are uncertain of their own thoughts. Leaders take the time to think before they speak. They refine their message internally so that when they express it, every word has purpose. Their speech is clean, focused, and intentional. They avoid rambling because they honor the time and attention of their listeners. One of the greatest communication strengths a leader can develop is brevity, the ability to say powerful things in a short amount of time. When you remove all the noise, what remains is pure meaning. Great leaders are remembered not for long speeches, but for short, impactful statements that shape decisions, shift mindsets, and inspire action. The world we live in is noisy. Attention spans are short. People are overwhelmed with information every single day. What cuts through the noise is not the longest message, but the clearest one. Clarity also comes from purpose. When a leader speaks, there is always intention behind their words. They know what outcome they want to produce. They know what emotion they want to leave behind. They know what direction they want people to move in. Every message has a destination. Leaders speak with the end in mind. They do not talk to fill silence. They talk to create change. That focus sharpens their voice and gives their words authority. Another key element of clarity is structure. Even when leaders speak spontaneously, their message follows a natural flow. A beginning that frames the idea, a middle that develops it, and an ending that reinforces it. People trust clear thinkers. When your message is structured, others can follow you without confusion. Disorganized speaking is one of the fastest ways to lose credibility. Organized speaking, even in difficult moments, makes people believe you know what you're doing. Clarity is not just about the words you choose. It is also about the courage to speak truth without hiding behind softness. Leaders communicate directly. They do not water down the truth to make it comfortable. They do not mask honesty with complicated language. They say what needs to be said with respect, confidence, and purpose. People trust leaders who speak clearly because clarity feels like honesty, and honesty builds loyalty. Another trait of clarity is listening. Great communicators listen deeply before they speak. They gather information, observe emotions, understand the environment, and then deliver a message that meets the moment. When you listen well, your words become sharper because they are shaped by understanding. Clarity is not achieved by guessing. It is achieved by paying attention. When you speak with clarity, people begin to associate your voice with certainty. They know that when you speak, they will understand what you mean. They will know what you expect. They will know what direction to follow. This consistency builds trust and makes your voice a source of stability. Speaking with clarity does not mean speaking perfectly. It means speaking intentionally. It means choosing your words with thought. It means valuing communication as a tool that shapes everything around you. Your relationships, your leadership, your opportunities, and your influence. When your voice becomes clear, your impact becomes undeniable. People remember you. People quote you. People trust you. And most importantly, people follow you. Chapter 5. The Power of Silence. Why leaders pause before they speak. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools in communication. Most people fear silence because they associate it with awkwardness, tension, or weakness. But leaders see silence differently. They see silence as a weapon, a strategy, a form of control. They understand that silence is not the absence of communication. It is a powerful form of it. A leader knows that silence creates space for meaning. Before they speak, they pause. They take a moment to breathe, to gather their thoughts, and to choose their words with intention. This simple habit gives them an advantage over those who rush, react, and speak without thinking. Leaders are not quick to respond, they are quick to understand. And that difference changes everything. When a leader pauses before speaking, they communicate confidence. They show that they do not need to fill every moment with noise. They are comfortable with their own presence. They are not afraid of reflection. They value accuracy more than speed. They would rather speak slowly and speak right than rush into words they cannot take back. In a world full of impulsive communication, thoughtful communication stands out. Silence also allows leaders to observe more deeply. When you are silent, you see more, you hear more, you notice more. You pick up on emotions, motives, body language, and energy shifts that others miss. Silence sharpens your awareness. It gives you insight into the real situation beneath the surface. Leaders do not just listen to words, they listen to what those words reveal. Silence gives them the space to receive those signals. Another dimension of silence is emotional control. Many conflicts are created not by what people say, but by the speed at which they say it. Anger, frustration, insecurity, and defensiveness push people to respond instantly. The leader does the opposite. They use silence to steady themselves. They let the emotion pass before they choose their words. This discipline not only protects their reputation, it commands respect. When a leader practices silence, people lean in. Silence builds anticipation. It makes listeners pay attention. It signals gravity and intention. A well-timed pause is often more powerful than the sentence that follows it. Great speakers, teachers, presidents, and negotiators use silence deliberately. They pause to let ideas sink in. They pause to emphasize a point. They pause to regain the attention of the room. Silence transforms ordinary words into impactful messages. Silence also protects relationships. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every disagreement needs immediate expression. Leaders know when to speak and when to hold back. They understand that silence can prevent unnecessary conflict, miscommunication, and emotional damage. Silence gives them time to choose words of clarity instead of words of reaction. It allows them to respond from reason rather than emotion. Silence is also a sign of humility. Leaders listen more than they speak. They do not assume they know everything. They create space for others to share ideas, perspectives, and insights. By listening deeply, they make others feel seen and respected. People naturally follow someone who values their voice. The more a leader listens, the more influence they gain. There is also strategic silence, the kind used in negotiations, decision-making, or moments of pressure. Silence can make others reveal information. Silence can make others rethink their position. Silence can shift power dynamics in a conversation. Leaders understand that the one who controls the silence often controls the situation. They are not afraid of waiting. They are not afraid of giving others time to react. They let silence work in their favor. Another important element of silence is self-awareness. When you pause, you have the opportunity to check in with yourself. What are you feeling? What outcome do you want? What message do you want your words to deliver? That moment of reflection helps you communicate with maturity and precision. It prevents missteps. It amplifies impact. It strengthens your presence. Great leadership is not about speaking constantly. It is about speaking wisely. Silence is the foundation of wisdom. It is the space where ideas form, emotions settle, and intention becomes clear. Without silence, speech loses its depth. Without reflection, communication loses its strength. Silence is what gives a leader's voice its authority. When you embrace silence, you transform the way you communicate. You speak with more precision, more purpose, and more confidence. People begin to respect your voice because they notice you are not careless with it. You speak when it matters, and when you speak, it counts. As you master the voice of a leader, remember this: silence is not your enemy. Silence is your ally. Silence gives weight to your words. Silence reveals your discipline. Silence strengthens your presence. And silence makes your leadership unmistakable. Before we continue to the next chapter, take a moment to support the channel. If this message is bringing value to your growth, make sure you like the video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Audiobook Sounds, Chasing Greatness. Your engagement helps this channel continue creating powerful content for your journey of self-mastery. Chapter 7. Speaking with Authority: How Leaders Command Respect Without Force. Authority is not something you demand. Authority is something you embody. The voice of a leader is not loud. It is decisive. It is not aggressive. It is confident. It does not need to overpower others. It naturally stands firm. Authority is not about volume, status, or titles. It is about the energy behind your words, the intention behind your message, and the certainty behind your decisions. When a leader speaks with authority, their words land with weight. People pay attention not because they fear consequences, but because they trust the clarity, conviction, and strength behind the message. Authority is rooted in consistency, integrity, emotional control, and self-respect. And the way you speak reflects how deeply you embody those qualities. Authority begins with identity. You cannot speak like a leader if you do not see yourself as one. Your voice rises to match the standard you hold for yourself. When your self-image is weak, your communication becomes shaky, hesitant, diluted by doubt. But when you rebuild your identity from strength, discipline, and self-belief, your words naturally gain authority. The world responds to the way you see yourself. Authority also comes from certainty. A leader does not need to be right all the time, but they must be certain in their intention. People follow confidence. They follow decisiveness. They follow someone who speaks with a clear direction, a clear perspective, and a clear purpose. When you hesitate, people feel it. When you believe in your message, people feel that too. Your certainty inspires clarity in others. Another source of authority is consistency. Leaders cannot command respect if their words change with every mood or situation. Consistency builds trust. It shows stability. It shows discipline. When you say what you mean and mean what you say, your voice becomes reliable. People listen because they know your message will not shift unexpectedly. Consistency creates a foundation on which your communication can stand strong. Authority is also shaped by emotional control. Leaders who lose control of their tone lose control of their influence. Anger, defensiveness, impatience, and emotional reactions weaken authority. They show instability and insecurity. But when a leader stays calm during pressure, their authority rises. A calm voice in chaos becomes a guiding force. People trust a leader who does not break under emotional storms. Authority is expressed through your posture, your eye contact, your pacing, and the steadiness of your breath. People read your presence before they listen to your message. If your presence communicates doubt, your words will lose impact. If your presence communicates strength, your words gain power. Your voice becomes an extension of your inner discipline. Leaders speak with authority not by trying to sound superior, but by being rooted in truth. They are honest, direct, and respectful. They do not manipulate or exaggerate. They do not over-explain themselves. They do not use unnecessary language to impress others. They speak with clarity because they are anchored in integrity. Authority does not require performance, it requires alignment. Authority grows through preparation. Leaders know their material, know their values, and know their expectations. They do their homework. They anticipate challenges. They think ahead. This preparation allows them to speak confidently in any environment. A prepared leader is a powerful leader. Their readiness becomes the foundation of their authority. Authority also grows through action. Your words gain power when they match your behavior. When your actions align with your message, people respect you. When they do not align, people doubt you. Leadership authority is not created in the moment you speak. It is created in the moments when no one is watching. Your discipline becomes your credibility. Your habits become your influence. Your integrity becomes your voice. Another essential element of authority is boundaries. Leaders communicate boundaries clearly and respectfully. They do not allow others to push them into uncertainty. They speak up when something is misaligned. They protect their values, their mission, and their standard. Boundaries show self-respect, and self-respect strengthens authority. To speak with authority, you must remove the need for validation. Leaders do not seek approval for every idea. They express their message with clarity and allow others to respond however they choose. They do not adjust their voice to please the room. They adjust the room with the strength of their voice. Seeking approval weakens authority. Owning your message strengthens it. Authority is not about being feared. It is about being respected. It is about guiding others with clarity, wisdom, and confidence. It is about helping people feel safe in your leadership. When you speak with authority, your voice influences decisions, shapes environments, and inspires action. As you grow, your authority will deepen. Your message will carry more impact. Your presence will grow stronger. And your voice will become a force that people cannot ignore. And before you move into the next chapter, take a moment to acknowledge something important. You have come far. Many people start listening to messages like this but never stay consistent, never finish, never invest in their growth all the way through. But you are still here. You are learning. You are growing. You are strengthening yourself one chapter at a time. That alone sets you apart. If this audiobook is helping you transform your communication and your leadership mindset, take a moment to support the channel. Like the video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs this message, and subscribe to Audiobook Sounds, Chasing Greatness. Your engagement pushes this content to others who need it. Chapter 8. The Emotional Discipline of a Leader. How to Control Your Tone, Temper, and Inner State. A leader's voice is not defined only by the words they speak, but by the emotional state behind those words. Tone can strengthen your message or destroy it. Emotion can elevate your leadership or weaken it. The greatest leaders do not simply control what they say, they control how they say it. And this emotional discipline is one of the rarest and most powerful traits in leadership communication. Most people allow their emotions to dictate their tone. Anger transforms simple statements into conflicts. Stress turns clarity into confusion. Insecurity turns harmless conversations into overreactions. Frustration turns guidance into criticism. When emotion leads, communication collapses. But when discipline leads, communication transforms. A leader does not speak from emotional impulse. They speak from emotional intelligence. They have learned to separate what they feel internally from what they choose to express externally. This does not make them cold, it makes them responsible. They understand that their tone carries weight. Their voice influences moods, decisions, relationships, and outcomes. They do not allow temporary emotions to damage long-term trust. Emotional discipline begins with awareness. Leaders know when their emotions are rising. They can feel irritation, anger, impatience, insecurity, or pressure before it takes control of their voice. This awareness gives them time to breathe, time to think, time to choose their response instead of reacting from instinct. They do not deny their feelings, but they master them. When you can recognize your emotional triggers, you can prevent them from shaping your communication. The next step is ownership. Leaders take responsibility for their emotions. They do not blame others for making them angry or frustrated. They understand that emotions arise from within and must be managed from within. This ownership gives them power. When you take responsibility for how you respond, no one can control your state. You become unshakable. Another key element of emotional discipline is restraint. Leaders understand that not every emotion deserves expression. Not every irritation deserves a reaction. Not every disagreement must become a confrontation. Silence, patience, and self-control communicate strength. Restraint is not weakness, it is mastery. Leaders choose the right moment, the right tone, and the right message. They refuse to let emotional chaos speak through their voice. A leader's tone must remain steady. Steady tone creates trust. When others know that you will respond calmly even in difficulty, they feel safe. They feel supported. They feel guided. A leader with emotional discipline becomes a stabilizing force in stressful environments. They do not escalate tension, they diffuse it. They do not spread panic, they bring clarity. They do not mirror chaos, they anchor calm. Another dimension of emotional discipline is empathy. Leaders understand that people communicate from their own emotional worlds. Some speak from fear. Some speak from insecurity. Some speak from stress. Some speak from lack of confidence. When a leader listens with empathy, they interpret these emotional signals instead of taking them personally. They understand that emotional reactions often have deeper roots. Empathy keeps a leader from reacting defensively and allows them to respond wisely. Leaders also control the emotional atmosphere around them. Their voice can calm a conflict or intensify it. It can inspire hope or create doubt. It can empower someone or weaken them. Leaders choose language that uplifts, guides, and strengthens. They choose tone that conveys stability and direction. They do not spread their internal storms to others. They aim to create emotional clarity in every interaction. Emotional discipline grows through practice. It grows through self-reflection. It grows through learning from your past reactions. Leaders do not aim to be perfect. They aim to be better than their previous version. Over time, emotional discipline becomes second nature. It becomes part of your identity, part of your voice, and part of your presence. Emotional discipline also builds respect. People trust leaders who do not lose control. They trust leaders who stay calm under pressure. They trust leaders who communicate with consistency rather than volatile emotion. Respect is not earned through dominance. It is earned through discipline. The leader who can control their emotions can control their results. Mastering emotional discipline means mastering your leadership voice. It means speaking with clarity even when frustrated. It means speaking with calm even when pressured. It means speaking with strength even when uncertain. It means speaking with wisdom even when challenged. When emotions do not dictate your voice, your leadership becomes unbreakable. As you continue to build the voice of a leader, recognize this truth. Your emotions are powerful, but your discipline is stronger. Your emotions are valid, but your responsibility is greater. A leader does not silence their emotions, but they do not let their emotions speak for them. And before we move to the next chapter, I want to acknowledge you once again. Reaching Chapter 8 shows commitment, focus, and dedication to becoming a stronger communicator and leader. Most people quit early. They stop learning. They stop improving. But you are still here, building yourself, chapter after chapter. That consistency is what separates average from exceptional. If this audiobook is helping you grow, take a moment to support the channel. Like the video, comment your insights, share it with someone who will benefit, and subscribe to Audiobook Sounds, Chasing Greatness. Your support helps this message reach more people on their journey to self-mastery. Chapter 9. Communicating with Influence. How leaders inspire action with their words. The true measure of a leader is not how much they know, but how effectively they can inspire others to act. Influence is the heart of leadership communication. It is the ability to change perspectives, elevate thinking, shift emotions, and move people toward a higher standard. Influence is not accidental. It is intentional, strategic, and rooted in a deep understanding of human behavior. To communicate with influence, a leader must first understand that people rarely act based on information alone. They act based on emotion. They act when something touches them, when something resonates, when something awakens a sense of purpose, urgency, or possibility within them. A leader's words must do more than inform, they must ignite. Influence begins with vision. When leaders speak, they paint pictures in the minds of others. They describe what could be, not just what is. They speak in a way that makes the future feel real, attainable, and worth pursuing. Vision creates direction. Vision gives meaning to action. Vision lifts people out of their limitations and into their potential. A leader's voice becomes magnetic when it communicates a future worth striving for. The next element of influence is certainty. People follow confidence. They follow direction. They follow someone who speaks with conviction. A leader's certainty gives others permission to believe. Their confidence becomes contagious. When a leader communicates with clear conviction, doubt fades and action becomes easier. But this certainty is not arrogance, it is alignment. It comes from preparation, clarity, and a deep belief in the mission. Another key component of influence is emotional connection. A leader's words must reach the heart, not just the mind. People follow leaders who speak to their values, their struggles, their dreams, and their identity. When you show understanding, empathy, and genuine care, your voice gains emotional weight. People listen differently. They open up. They trust you. Connection amplifies influence. Without it, even the strongest message loses impact. Leaders also influence through storytelling. Stories bypass resistance. They bypass logic and go straight to emotion. A well-crafted story inspires belief, shapes thinking, and builds relatability. Leaders share real experiences, real challenges, real lessons. They use stories to make ideas memorable. A story can teach more in a minute than information can teach in an hour. When leaders speak through narrative, people follow both the message and the meaning behind it. Influence also comes from clarity of intention. Leaders do not communicate randomly. They know exactly what outcome they want with every message. They know what action they want people to take. They know what emotional shift they want to create. Each word, each sentence, each message is aligned with that purpose. When your intention is clear, your influence becomes precise. Another dimension of influence is integrity. People cannot be influenced by someone they do not trust. Words lose power when they come from a voice that lacks honesty, consistency, or authenticity. Leaders strengthen their influence by living their message. When their actions match their words, their voice gains authority. When they walk their talk, people follow naturally. Influence built on integrity lasts. Influence built on manipulation crumbles. A leader influences not through force, but through alignment. They lead by example. They speak with purpose. They communicate with respect. They inspire through action. They uplift by empowering others. Influence is not about controlling people, it is about awakening something within them. A leader helps people see their own strength, their own potential, and their own ability to rise higher. To communicate with influence, you must also understand timing. Knowing when to speak is just as important as knowing what to say. Effective leaders read the moment. They sense when inspiration is needed, when clarity is needed, when accountability is needed, and when silence is needed. Influence is not just in the message, it is in the mastery of timing. Influence also requires consistency. A single speech can motivate someone briefly, but consistent communication transforms them. Leaders reinforce their message. They repeat the vision. They guide people back to their purpose. Consistency turns inspiration into identity. A consistent leader shapes culture, mindset, and behavior through intentional repetition. To speak with influence, a leader must believe in the people they lead. Influence is not about elevating yourself, it is about elevating others. It is about helping them rise, helping them grow, helping them perform beyond the limits they once accepted. A leader inspires not by demanding results, but by awakening potential. When you speak with influence, your words carry power. They create movement. They inspire change. They open minds. They strengthen hearts. They guide actions. Your voice becomes a tool for transformation, not just communication. And before we move to the next chapter, take a moment to recognize your dedication. You have listened, learned, and absorbed 9 full chapters of leadership development, communication mastery, and personal growth. Most people never commit this deeply, never stay consistent this long, never invest in their own leadership voice at this level. But you are building yourself into someone stronger, wiser, and more influential with every chapter. If this audiobook is helping you rise, support the channel. Like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, pass the message on to someone who needs it, and subscribe to Audiobook Sounds, Chasing Greatness. Together we grow. Chapter 10. Becoming the leader others listen to, speaking with purpose, vision, and inner strength. The final step in developing the voice of a leader is understanding that communication is not just about words, it is about who you become. A leader's voice is forged through experience, discipline, self-awareness, and commitment to growth. Speaking like a leader is not a performance, it is a reflection of your inner world. Your voice becomes powerful when your character becomes powerful. Every word you speak carries your values. Every message you deliver carries your identity. Every conversation reflects your discipline. To speak like a leader, you must live like one. Leadership communication is built from the inside out. A strong voice comes from a strong mind. A stable tone comes from emotional maturity. A compelling message comes from clarity of purpose. Your voice improves as you improve. A leader speaks with purpose. They do not speak randomly or carelessly. Their words have direction. Their voice has meaning. They understand that communication shapes outcomes, builds relationships, and influences decisions. Purpose gives weight to your words because you are no longer speaking for noise, you are speaking for impact. When your intentions are clear, your communication becomes unforgettable. Another defining trait of leadership communication is vision. Leaders do not speak about where they are, they speak about where they are going. They communicate possibility. They communicate direction. They communicate the future. Visionary communication inspires people to rise above their circumstances and move towards something greater. Your voice becomes magnetic when it holds a vision people can see, feel, and believe in. Leadership communication is also rooted in responsibility. Leaders understand that their words carry power, and they use that power wisely. They do not gossip. They do not degrade. They do not speak from ego or insecurity. They use their voice to uplift, to guide, to correct with respect, and to create growth. They understand that carelessness with words can destroy trust, but responsibility with words can build loyalty that lasts a lifetime. Another key element is courage. Leaders speak truth even when it is uncomfortable. They communicate honestly, even when honesty is difficult. They express boundaries clearly. They address conflict directly. They do not hide behind silence or avoid important conversations. Courageous communication builds credibility because people trust those who are willing to stand in truth without being disrespectful or aggressive. Courage in communication is one of the purest signs of leadership. A leader also communicates with consistency. They show up with the same clarity, the same strength, the same calm, and the same values no matter who they are speaking to. Their voice is not different depending on the audience. Their integrity does not change based on the room. Consistency builds reliability, and reliability builds influence. When people know what to expect from your voice, they begin to lean on it for guidance. Another essential element of leadership communication is humility. Leaders do not speak to prove themselves. They do not communicate to feel superior. They communicate to serve, to inspire, to build, to elevate. A humble voice is powerful because it is honest, grounded, and free of ego. People trust humility far more than arrogance. A leader who communicates with humility becomes approachable, respected, and deeply influential. Leadership communication is also marked by clarity. Leaders do not cloud their messages with unnecessary complexity. They speak directly. They speak simply. They speak in ways that everyone can understand. Clarity is a sign of intelligence, strength, and respect for the listener. Your voice becomes more powerful when your message becomes easier to receive. Finally, leadership communication requires alignment. Your words must match your actions. Your guidance must match your behavior. Your expectations for others must reflect the standards you hold for yourself. When your communication aligns with your life, your voice gains a level of credibility that cannot be faked. People follow leaders whose actions confirm their words. Speaking like a leader is not about sounding perfect. It is about speaking from strength of character, clarity of purpose, and depth of understanding. Leadership communication is a lifelong commitment, a continuous evolution, a daily practice. As you grow, your voice grows. As you strengthen yourself, your message strengthens. As you rise, your influence rises. And now, before we close this audiobook, take a moment to recognize your journey. You have made it through all 10 chapters, each one designed to strengthen your voice, your mindset, and your leadership presence. Most people never commit this deeply to improving themselves, but you have chosen to rise, to learn, and to grow. That alone sets you apart from the masses. You are building the voice of a leader, a voice that can inspire, influence, guide, and uplift. Carry these principles into your conversations, your relationships, your decisions, and your future. When you speak, speak with purpose. When you guide, guide with clarity. When you lead, lead with integrity. Your voice has power. Use it wisely. If this audiobook has inspired you, encouraged you, or strengthened your leadership journey, support the channel. Like the video, comment your insights, share it with someone who needs this message, and subscribe to Audiobook Sounds, Chasing Greatness. Your support helps this content reach more people who are ready to transform their lives and elevate their leadership. This is your moment. This is your growth. This is your voice. Go forward and speak like the leader you are becoming. Thank you for listening to this audiobook on Audiobook Sounds, Chasing Greatness. You've taken the time to invest in your growth, strengthen your communication, and improve your leadership voice. That dedication puts you ahead of the average person, and it shows your commitment to becoming a greater version of yourself. If this audiobook has inspired you or helped you in any way, make sure you like this video, share it with someone who needs this message, and leave a comment with your thoughts or reflections. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss any new uploads designed to elevate your mindset, discipline, and personal power. Your journey doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. Keep learning, keep improving, and keep chasing greatness.